Yeah, I think Quadrant look at this series layout and they know they're going to have to work harder maybe than they ever have to come out with the series result here, because there's no strongholds. That's their bread and butter, right? That's the one that, I mean, I laughed yesterday. I saw Snakebite walking backstage and he was like, you know what? Actually, it was Royal 2. And he goes, you know what? We lost that first game on Live Fire Strongholds, but we were like, well, we got 200 points against them. That's actually pretty good. So they kind of saw it as a 1. So nothing to worry about for Shopify Rebellion when it comes to strongholds. Oddball has not been great for Quadrant as well and is extremely strong for Shopify as well. You put that one objective game type in there, the 2 Slayers, which we talked about enough for now. Quadrant are going to have to play their best and most consistent Halo, to Wes's point, to come out on top in this series.
What I will say is that Slayer Aquarius, that's going to be very difficult for Quadrant to slow down. On Aquarius, they are probably at their fastest. The arena-style gameplay, they absolutely love it, but if Shopify are up to tricks and they're up to no good, they are going to catch Quadrant out being way too fast-paced on that map. So I'm a little bit worried about that Slayer game coming up second. I think it's going to be very difficult. I do think Quadrant need a very, very hot start in that first map of the series, because that Slayer is going to be a tough one. We're just about ready to get going, guys. Let's head on over to our casters. We have Golden Boy and Sheriff T.
This guy and that guy who is evidently gonna, what, is it like a funeral for one of these 2 teams? Is that what it is?
I don't know, man. Texas just changed me. I've been walking different. I've been talking different. That food got me acting different.
That BBQ?
I love me some Texas. Barbecue.
I mean, I saw we messed up some barbecue earlier in the week, you know. I'm falling apart here, but hopefully we will, I will last long enough for the conclusion of this series, because this is one that I'm very excited for. Shopify, obviously, Shopify Rebellion, this team have really, like, just, not only do you have the veterans on that squad, but you also have the young guns there as well. It's a great combination of the new and the old. But then on top of that, on the other side of the stage, you have a very hungry Quadrant. But it is crazy, though, to think here, Tony, that these 2 teams finished top 6 in the last event. Neither one of these squads, or one of these squads, rather, are not going to see that top 6 here today. One of them's going home right here, right now.
Like Wes said, somebody's going to be disappointed here in your elimination bracket. Quadrant with their ultra-fast playstyle, or Shopify Rebellion, the team that's able to slow the game down. And being that it's oddball game number 1, you have to think that lends to Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah, especially after that heater of a series that we just saw. You know, you have to wonder to yourself, right? Like, obviously, you know, is Rebellion going to be feeling that one? Are they going to be kicking themselves for dropping that game? But it was such a close game that we saw there against Cloud9. Now, though, as we take a look at the screen, you got SLG, of course, cooking. 3 players trying to just force their way out of this one. Overshield's going to be coming up in a second here, and SLG's got a lot of work ahead of him here, Tony.
SLG tries to get in position to grab a hold of that Overshield, but he's met with 3 different players of Shopify Rebellion who were quickly able to deal with him. They take their time in order to grab it, and now Rayne is going to extract every last bit of that Overshield, every last inch as they chase down the ball carrier. But Sica playing a little
trying
bit
to run away,
able to get it all the way towards the A side and right over towards his spawning teammates. Quadrant in their setup.
Absolutely amazing movement that we were seeing there from Sica to keep this one going, and he's still able to pick up a lot of time off of this as well, and that came off of an Overshield grab from Rebellion as well as the chase down too. But credit where credit is due to Quadrant for pretty much setting up that trap, and that was something that we want to see a little bit more of this Quadrant team, right? We want to see them have a bit more nuance, not just be the French, you know, push gameplay that we're so used to seeing here. And I think plays like that are definitely going to put them over the finish line if they can keep it going.
That was about 17 seconds worth of time that Quadrant ultimately shouldn't have had, but Sica making it work, and now they're continuing to add to that. Now we're at the 30-second mark from the reset. Quadrant is still able to get back into the defensive stance. Once again with that ball, SLG the first one to go down. Off screen, looks like Sica's able to trade. TchiK is still applying pressure over toward the A side, knowing that not only have to worry about the setup, but also Overshield's coming up.
Yeah, no, this series is so interesting though, Tony. It's, you have a Quadrant squad that, you know, obviously are so good at strongholds, but guess what? No strongholds in this series. So they're gonna have to get it done with these objective game modes like Oddball, and they most definitely can, but they cannot allow Rebellion to just get hot like the way they were able to get the Overshield, get possession of the power items. You just can't allow that to happen here. And Quadrant do just that. They were able to get that Overshield, and now they start to accrue even more time here. This is like the best possible situation that Quadrant could have found themselves in, given the situation the way the game played out in the early game.
With this series layout, Quadrant really had to prove how versatile they are. And being able to beat Shopify Rebellion on a game type like Oddball and start off with a 50-0 run here for Quadrant, this is going to go great as a game number one, because it does get easier in game two. Capture the flag, Argyle going to be a different story, but so far Legend is still occurring time here, and eventually plays it out. He knows that there's 2 members of Rebellion that are pushing up. They're going to quickly try to rotate out the rest of Quadrant moving in, and with all of that chaos, somehow Shopify Rebellion end up 3 down.
Now we'll see, though, how they try and, I guess, play with this advantage, Quadrant, right? Like, you manage to be able to pick up a few more players here, but you get the ball right back into your possession, and it's right back over to tower side, too. So pretty much doing everything that you want. This is the ideal setup. You have the sniper up top of the tower here. You know, ball's probably going to be lingering about, you know, in the backfield, but they have to be able to get that ball in their hands before they can start to accrue some of these points. So really, you're just going to have to look for these boys to just try and get a little forward here, but instead that's Rebellion. They have other plans as they manage to take control of that area.
What is going on with Shopify Rebellion?
Yeah.
Now, they were almost in danger of being shut out, and they managed to put 1 point on the board, but they still have to deal with the slaying power of Quadrant and the speed that they're coming at them with. Finally, a numbers advantage in favor of Shopify Rebellion. They were able to keep this ball over toward the tower side. There should be some valuable time here for Rebellion, just in time for them to rotate over to Overshield after this is all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, ideally you would like to see that happen, but, you know, I think that Quadrant just going to try and apply that pressure as much as possible. Look out for this overshield that just gets grabbed by Sica. So now this can start to push for them potentially. But the thing is that, you know, you're really just going into this one with just 2 players, a little bit of overshield remaining. You really have to make do with what you have here, or else you're just going to let Rebellion get back into this game.
Quadrant trading out almost 30 seconds worth of ball time in order to grab a hold of this overshield, and now we have to find out, is it going to pay off? Sica taking down 1, and the teamwork able to deal with another. That's 3 down for Shopify Rebellion. Only 1 more player to slow down Quadrant from getting the ball. Looks like they're able to do so. 1 player stays alive for way too long for Shopify, and Quadrant are never able to take advantage of the 3 down.
Yeah, and I think that, again, right, like, it's those little mistakes that could end up costing you in the end. You have to be able to take advantage of those situations that you create for yourself, and especially in these high-stakes elimination bracket rounds. In round 1, remember, you're playing here for a chance not to get knocked out on that top 12 after having top 6 at the last event. There's a lot on the line here. Respect as well for both of these teams.
RyaNoob right now 1 and 8, 6 assists to go along with it. He really is just like me. They're my kind of stats right there.
Oh, yeah.
Want to see RyaNoob stepping up just a little bit in the slaves department, adding a second on the board, but eventually RyaNoob does end up going down, and Quadrant once again dominating the kill feed. And mind you, they're only about less than 40 seconds away from taking round number 1, and now the shot clock is going to become a factor as well.
That's right. Time is going to be a factor. You mentioned RyaNoob, and I think, you know, it's important to note, right? Everyone's seen what RyaNoob is capable of doing throughout the entirety of his career. They know, you know, the sneaky plays, the ratty plays, get behind you, right? Do the flanks and catch your opponent off guard. That has been RyaNoob's bread and butter for an incredibly long time. But what I really like about this particular team is that he's front loaded with 3 really talented slayers. So even if RyaNoob isn't the one that's like picking up all the kills, you can expect him to be the guy who does the dirty work and create those openings for his teammates to allow guys like Mental to thrive, because if you look at the kill column right now, Mental and Rayne are fragging out big time. With that overshield pickup, you could very well be seeing Rebellion get right back into this game.
Mental, definitely one of those superstars, overshield and sniper in hand. But even in that game 5 loss, they got maybe 17-9 in a Slayer on Empyrean. The man was really showing off and showing out and keeping Shopify in that game. And now with the sniper and overshield in hands, he has the chance to do the same right here. Just a missed no scope. Gonna finish off Legend with the battle rifle. Legend being so. Hold on. Legend's not down. He's gonna go in for the challenge, but has to give up his life in order to get it.
Yeah, that unfortunately, you know, that just happens, right? Like, I think, you know, playing your life there, obviously recognizing it was a similar thing that we saw earlier on when Sica did you know, the same exact thing, except that time it was with the ball. He was able to bring it over toward green side. Those things, like being able to stay alive and draw that attention over to you, it's so critical, especially when games are getting as close as they are. And that, I think, is something that we have to note here as well. This at one point, Tony, was a very good game for Quadrant, and Rebellion have just come right back into this, and they are within striking distance. Only a few seconds left.
A three-point game here. Just 2 seconds. They have to desperate and go after this ball, and it's not going to happen. Quadrant able to defend that ball in no man's land and making sure to zone out Shopify Rebellion at every given turn. That's going to be round number 1 for Quadrant.
But you let them get within striking distance, and that is a part that they have to be a little bit cognizant of as they get ready for this next round, because Rebellion, if 1 or 2 kills had gone their way, that easily would have been a point for them. So you really have to, live kind of like a factory at, like on the fly here and try and like figure out, okay, how do we triage this and make sure that we don't allow that to happen again? Because they had such a strong start at the beginning of this game. That kind of is been the brand of Quadrant. These strong starts, and they have to find ways to close it out. But sometimes they allow their opponent to jump back in.
Yeah, normally you give Shopify Rebellion an inch and they take a mile, and they almost did just that. So you want to tighten up the ship just a little bit this Quadrant, but round number 1 does go in favor of them. And so far, round 2, not too bad. Rayne with the overshield, but he ends up being shredded. Goes back in for the challenge. Didn't want to take that. Quadrant putting Shopify 2 down onto the black screen. Now that allows them to really take advantage of this 4v2. Allow them to be 1, maybe 2 slays away off of respawn, away from getting that ball.
Well, play there by Lqgend as he just tries to play his life and see if he can get a kill. He knows he has a teammate down low, so they will be able to just get this ball out, but it won't be free because Rayne has other plans. That's 2 down now for Quadrant, which gives Rebellion a massive opening, something that they did not have in that first round, and they had to claw their way back in.
Both of these teams have an advanced understanding of how to play their numbers. The moment they get the opposing team 2 or even 3 down, Shopify Rebellion love to take space. Quadrant on the other side, they love to speed it up and use those numbers. Either way, the moment they get any kind of advantage, they're going to play through it. And you see another kill on the board for Quadrant. TchiK zoning out the bottom mid side. You do see Overshield coming up in just 10 seconds here. 3 members of Shopify are going to try to push up over towards scoreboard. This is going to be a pivotal battle here. This Overshield is so important.
Yeah, and also like TchiK, I think in that moment, he thought maybe I could just you try and bait this out, try and create an opening for my teammates. The issue is that you had so many members of Rebellion just stacked on that side of the map, and that it kind of allows Rebellion again just another window of opportunity to capitalize here, especially with them being able to take this lead. Is those little details in this series that is definitely going to really hit you in the end. So you got to be mindful of that. And well, I think in that instance too, credit goes to Rebellion for really zoning out Quadrant there and just getting all the value out of it.
And because of that, you see about a 20-point lead in favor of Shopify Rebellion. RyaNoob dropping the nade, picks up that ball, looks away. He knew that grenade was going to connect and ultimately give Shopify Rebellion the advantage. So now over towards their green side setup. Once again, is Rebellion. They have to identify where the push is coming from. I see Sica and Lqgend over toward the C side. We also see 2 more members onto Alpha. Quadrant surrounding Shopify at the moment.
Yeah, and really just Quadrant have not been able to get anything going. Something that, Tony, I believe you had mentioned in the last round was when you have those 3 down players, right, how do you take advantage of it? Well, they did just that, Rebellion. They got 3 down, and look at the score adding up here. They have not allowed Quadrant to just get back into this game. A complete zone out here. Even when they play that ball, they're in a position to be able to receive it again and then just rotate right over to their spot. They're playing this one picture perfect, and even though the slays look really good for Quadrant, at the end of the day, it's all about the bottom of the screen there, what that score is going to be.
And the same way Quadrant were able to dominate Shopify Rebellion in round number 1, we are seeing Rebellion do the exact same to them. An 80-14 run. Quadrant finally able to get that ball in hands and now having the opportunity to strike back. Once again, we see that overshield coming up. And once again, we see 3 members of Shopify Rebellion within eyes length of it.
Yeah, and this overshield is going to be equally as important here as every overshield has been, and those kills are actually going to be massive. It has been all Quadrant this entire time. Brilliant use of the Shroud screen as well just to get back out of this one, and mental heads-up play to just dump that ball over the side, set up Ruin, and now you got to get back to the ball, and on top of that, well, let's see where that overshield ended up, because I think that also is going to play a little bit of a role here too as they try and just get that ball right back to safe haven.
Highly unfortunate for Quadrant to have 4 players up, dropping that ball in order to get the slays, and mental making the unselfish and very heads-up play to play that ball like
but they recovered.
Big play by him, but it is Sica with the overshield. It is Quadrant once again with that ball. The same way we saw in the first round. We saw Quadrant dominate, Shopify come back, and then eventually Quadrant sneak it away. will history repeat itself here?
Oh yeah, these two teams closely matched. Obviously, it goes without saying. Sica trying his absolute best there, and we just saw TchiK with a killing spree of his own, so he's really just trying to will this team back as the Slays are starting to look pretty solid for Quadrant here. Question is, though, can they manage to be able to get that ball and just create as much of a distraction as possible? You know, RyaNoob's got a few bodies in front of him, and he's already called that out. But look at the pressure that's being applied up front here by SLG as well as Sica. That is really just going to have to leave RyaNoob to be that ratty player to create the openings where possible. Nice Insta as well. Dave would be proud as he goes right back into the Shroud now. That was, again, like really you're just trying to keep them away from that ball and just gather as much time as you possibly can here. This is working pretty much textbook perfect for Rebellion as it stands right now. And another big kill comes through, but they have to be able to stay alive here if they want to try and profit off of these points.
Double push out of Quadrant seems to be too much for Rebellion to handle there. And once again, Quadrant able to kick Shopify Rebellion right out of their home. And now Shopify Rebellion in danger of ultimately allowing Quadrant to get right back in this round, ultimately steal this game away. They're still down by quite a bit, and luckily the play ball is forced out. Quadrant go 2 down, and now we have another reset.
Yeah, that push was so important as well because they know exactly where they're going to want to set up, right? They were hanging out over toward green. They've been going there pretty consistently, and a massive pickup there as well. That is going to just allow them to be able to get possession of the ball. They only need 10 points, and it will be a wrap. Oh, my word. We are just seeing blows exchange left, right, and center. 94 on the board as RyaNoob's going to get this over on top of the plat, and we see now how this is going to play out because Mental's just trying to play his life, stay alive with just 2 points left to gain here, but they've lost a lot of bodies.
Almost able to get the cheeky movement and be able to steal away that round, but finally Quadrant able to stop them short. Just 2 points away from stealing this round is Rebellion, but Quadrant have the ball at the moment. They're 20 seconds away from stealing the game. SLG put a pop in a couple of shots, ultimately backing down to stay alive. We see TchiK in danger over toward the overshield side. Shopify already moving into collapse. SLG dealing with Mental, but Rayne sneaks in out of nowhere, grabs the last couple of seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to a round 3.
Love to see it. That is exactly what I was hoping to get out of these two teams, and I expect this series to go the absolute distance, as it should, as both of these teams deserve to have that. But, you know, I have to say, credit where credit is due to Rebellion, because there was a point in time there in that last round, they were getting outslayed heavily. Now, you know, you're starting to see it level out a little bit here, but I think, like, was it right now they're sitting at around like 5 or 6 kills slay total advantage for Quadrant. So they're doing the thing. They're doing the business. They're trying to get back into this one here and will themselves into it, but you got to have these hot starts.
Well, if Rebellion are able to continuously steal away overshields like they were in that round number 2, I have no doubt that they'll be able to steal this game away as we see another overshield find the hands of Rebellion, specifically Mental. Now combines that with a sniper in his back pocket, deals with one quickly, and Sica, the no-scope gonna connect onto Legend. Denial comes in.
God.
That player has no idea what's coming.
Get him, boy!
That's an overshield!
Oh, my
Mental
word.
coming out with the overkill.
Hit him with the wall bounce.
He's not done.
Not at all. Not at all. My boy Mental out here going absolutely wild, living up to his name, doing exactly what he needs to do here to pretty much just bring this team. And what an event he is having. This is a guy who, by the way, if you guys don't know, Mental coming from Gears of War, one of the best Gears of War players that we'd ever been treated to in that particular esport. Now makes his way over to Halo and brings his talents here, and he has been playing exquisite Halo. This is exactly what you'd want to see out of an ace player like him.
I said it right off the rip. Quadrant cannot allow Shopify to continue to steal overshield after overshield, and that's exactly what they use in order to get that overkill. And now in 20 seconds, we're going to see another OS coming up, but now with Mental and Rebellion, they have to divert their attention a little bit. You have to divide it over towards this ball that is trying to rotate onto the C side while also addressing OS, which is coming up very soon. Can they do both?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they, at the very least, you dump that ball and you try to prevent that overshield from getting picked up by Quadrant, but Quadrant desperately need that OS, and they are definitely going to be rewarded with it because they have picked it up over on the outskirts, and Mental just trying to stay alive, and I think Sica, he's just waiting for that prime opportunity to pound and jump on him. And I mean, that being said, though, I think it's important to note as well that with the way that this Quadrant team is kind of getting bodied here, they really need to kind of like hone in on that aggression and get back to what works for them and just get in the face of Rebellion and don't let them get comfortable.
43-3 run here for Rebellion, but once again, it's Quadrant able to grab this ball. Quadrant do end up going 3
He's one
down,
away from a frenzy.
Pushing up.
Oh, frenzy, baby! Mental dropping a frenzy on the main stage on a team like Quadrant. That is beautiful work from him, but he's going to have to keep this one going. And just look at the intelligent decision-making that he's having here. This guy's having one hell of a game.
Nades are coming out down to one-shot Mental goals, but still going to rotate over towards this ball. Nobody home just yet here for Quadrant. There we go. Couple of shots going to make him weak. Mental understands that they need this numbers advantage, so immediately drops this ball. Now going to go a bit in for a longer flank, right behind enemy lines, but didn't account for Sica. Back down to one shot. TchiK able to take him down, and now we see Rayne coming in with the sniper.
Yeah, and you should expect a play ball here if things get a little bit too hot for Quadrant, as there is going to be a player like down low, like right to behind where Rayne is going to be located. And I thought that would have been a shot, would have been a wild shot, but it doesn't work out. So it gives an opening, an opportunity here for Quadrant. Let's see how this setup is going to be, though, because there's going to be a lot of pressure coming from Nest and Tower.
And we're already seeing the 3-man push coming out of Rebellion, and we do see one player in Rayne going for a flank over towards the A side. Hopefully,
watch for that
Quadrant
pinch.
able to identify that. SLG taking down RyaNoob. SLG goes down, but the ball is forced, played off the map. Rebellion once again having the advantage, and once again moving up for another overshield.
Ooh, but with 3 players down and an overshield available, just as you mentioned, Tony, that is another OS grab for Rebellion, which is really difficult for Quadrant. They have to just do their absolute best to burn it as fast as they can, which they do succeed in doing so. But, you know, unfortunately, the objective of the game is to get the oddball in your hands. And, well, it seems like Rebellion have that firm control currently. And Mental's just kind of running roughshod, doing exactly what he needs to do. Be in front of the team and cause a distraction. The thing is, you just can't give up too many kills at that point in time. You just want to try and see if you could get the benefit from this here. But Cykul, good coverage from him as well to back things up. That ball's going to be out in no man's land, and they pretty much just want Quadrant to go for it at this point and see if they could just pepper them with shots.
Despite the fact that Quadrant were able to push Rebellion right off of spawn, they are able to respond immediately. And we've seen Cykul with this heat wave put in the work. That's the second kill that we've seen on screen, and the assist to go along with it. 72-35 run. Shopify Rebellion might have done enough to put Quadrant out of reach. Quadrant gonna have to make something happen here very soon.
Yeah, well, they have to bring this over to the green side if they want to just play ball. Over toward the OS side of the map, you just don't really have that comfort to do so, but you can see that the lane has been stopped up by Quadrant. There's going to be one player left alive lingering about here. Does manage to pick up one, but because of that, they bring this ball right back into a safe position, and this is great. They could just leave this ball here, let time tick, or just build up as much as they can. Get to like 85, get to 90, try and see if you get as much time and points out of this as you can, because you know that Quadrant have to push this.
Play ball finally comes in, and Cykul was able to put in more damage with this heat wave due to the early play ball, but not enough to get the kills that they were looking for. In fact, Quadrant are the ones to put Rebellion 3 down. Quadrant having another chance to claw their way back into it, but it feels like it's only a matter of time for Rebellion to get that 2 or 3 slays that they need to turn the tables once again, and maybe for the last time this game.
All right, OS was picked up. Mental's actually on the hunt, trying to see if he can find his player, and that is, of course, going to be Lqgend, who's having one hell of an event himself. Dropping 38 right now in this game. The only one next to him is going to be Mental at 39. And with that ball possession, 1 minute, 14 seconds on the clock, Tony, that time is going to become, you know, quite critical for them, and they are going to have to really rely on players like Lqgend to open up the map for them.
Luckily for Quadrant, as long as they have that ball in hand, that timer will be stopped, but that won't be the case for long, especially with Rebellion starting to push up. Mental finds the first kill onto Lqgend. That's the first kill that Rebellion need, but Sica with the sniper out of nowhere lines up the second one, almost able to connect. RyaNoob taking down TchiK and forcing that play ball once again down to the bottom mid we go, and Sica looking to reposition, gets challenged and dealt with.
Only a few more points remaining. 6 points for Rebellion to be able to pick up this first map here. And with that ball possession down low, that is exactly what is going to happen. And Rebellion pick up a massive win, but that was a hard-fought battle. Oddball live fire.
Yeah, Quadrant really came with that heat in round number 1. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit worried for Rebellion, but like you said, Rebellion clawed their way right back into that game. Ultimately, almost made it. I think they only lost, what, by 3 points after the time ran down. And then round 2 was theirs, and round 3 was an absolute fight Rebellion up 1-0 in the series, and you see the looks on Quadrant face. They're obviously not happy about that one.
Oh, yeah, and also, I mean, not happy with how that last round went as well. Rebellion, they ran away with that one in the early game, and at that point, they were just playing, you know, with as much time as they possibly could, right? They were allowing Quadrant to push forward, try and challenge them, try and take the ball out of the open field, pretty much left the bait there for them and set up those traps. And those are things that, you know, like Rebellion just so good at doing. The Deaths were actually talking about it as well, how like this, you know, Rebellion is the type of team that like if Quadrant aren't careful, they would easily land into those bear traps, and that is pretty much how Rebellion set them up for success there. So very studious game. I think you go back and watch it and see like this was a good textbook way to play some oddball on live fire. Really just play to your opponent's aggression as much as you possibly can. But on top of that too, I mean, you also have to have players that are like popping off in those moments. And let's be honest, man, Mental was having one hell of a game. So when a player plays like that, you need your ace on the other side, which of course was Lqgend, to also be responding in turn. And instead, you know, it just was the Mental show. And boy, oh boy, were we treated to one.
Well, speaking of Mental, can we give a quick congratulations to Mental, because after that score line, that is actually breaking the record so far for this tournament.
Oh, wow.
Highest kill count goes to Mental so far this tournament, and it obviously led them into a big win in that game number 1 oddball, but will it be enough to send them over the edge? Because now we're going into Aquarius and a Slayer, so much faster, much grittier type of game here for Quadrant. I can imagine as long as they can get a hold of a couple of those camouflages just the same way that Rebellion grabbed hold of those overshields and make them impactful, I can imagine Quadrant can tie up this series here in game 2.
Yeah, well, you know, and another thing to note as well is that for Slayer, I mean, it hasn't necessarily been Rebellion's favorite playground, at the very least in this particular event. So I believe they're currently sitting at like a 2-3 record. You know, they're not the best, but also not the worst either. So I think Quadrant certainly going to need to have to take advantage of that, and that maybe that weakness in the game, you know, quote unquote weakness in the game, as we talk about these two teams. Very few weaknesses, I think, across the board here. But so yeah, Slayer Aquarius, and I just want to see what that opening gambit is going to be for Quadrant again. They've been so good at this, really reinforcing, like getting strong starts early on. And Rebellion have been fine, like receiving the aggression from Quadrant and then responding in kind. So I do think that there is a great kind of story here of two different styles of how you approach Halo. Neither one right, neither one wrong. If anything, it just goes to show how many layers this game has, because Quadrant's able to get that fast-paced, in-your-face action, whereas Rebellion, they're doing the setups. They're making sure that they have RyaNoob in prime position to create distractions and then allow players like Mental and Cykul to sweep up those kills.
And one thing I found so impressive, that with the difference of play styles that you see out of Rebellion and Quadrant, is that when the stats were on the screen, we saw those assists so high. So one of the reasons why Mental was able to put up that 40 bomb and Lqgend right behind him in the slays, I think with 39 himself, was the amount of assists that the Sica has at 24, the amount of assists that Cykul had at a 19 as well. That's going to be really good in carrying over to Aquarius, which is a much more open map that you expect, at least in the mid angle, compared to live fire. And then on top of it being a Slayer, they'll really have a lot of freedom with that movement.
Yeah, and also I think another thing to note here, that 1 and 3, if I'm correct, for Quadrant, I mean, those were games against Sentinels, games against FaZe. Like, those were tough matches, right? That you're going up against some of the best of the best in the game here. So Quadrant, if anything, have kind of ran the gamut against a variety of styles as we get ready for this Rebellion matchup on Aquarius. I think it just goes to show, right, how every single team in this tournament, doesn't matter the circumstances, you know, they can either take a game, they can surprise you here, they can surprise you there. It truly has been anyone's event, even though the top 3 very strong across the board. But you look at these teams and you're like, man, you're literally right there. You're right at the precipice of greatness.
Yeah, you know, when we talk about the Elite 3 being the SSGs, you know, the optics and the phases, we're trying to think of teams that will be able to disrupt that top 3. And 2 of the names that come to mind are Quadrant and Rebellion. So that's what makes it so crazy that we are in the elimination bracket round 1. one of these teams are going home after this series, and so far it's Quadrant that seem to be down 0-1 in the series. If you're on the side of Quadrant, you're coaching them up. I don't know how good your French is, but you're working. I'm sure you're working on it.
Well, if my French is any good as my Spanish, it's not that good. Let me. Not Puerto Rican.
What I will say is, what are you saying to them in order to bounce back here in this Slayer, into this game 2? How are you going to motivate the troops and get them right back in the series?
Well, I think you got to go back and say, like, hey, focus on our fundamentals here, right? That is the core thing. One thing that Quadrant has excelled at time and time again is their aggression. This is a great opportunity for them to not put their foot off of the gas pedal and really just bring it to Rebellion, make them uncomfortable in this game, and make this into a series. Because I think if you let Rebellion walk away out of this one with a 2-0 lead in the series, it will be very hard to claw your way back into a reverse sweep in order for you to stop Rebellion's momentum.
Well, whenever you're playing on land, you got to get comfortable doing the uncomfortable. And so far, we got to see who's going to be able to get over the hump. Is it going to be Quadrant? Is it going to be Rebellion? With this active camouflage sitting over towards the mid-map, if Quadrant want to come out on top, they cannot be giving them away for free like they did the overshows on Livefire. And so far, like we saw RyaNoob do, luckily, Quadrant are able to neutralize them immediately.
Yeah, and if anything, that was exactly what Quadrant wanted to have happen. You know that, there's going to be that focus on the camo, right? So this goes right back to the narrative that I am weaving, which is that Quadrant start off these games strong. They managed to stuff the camo because they knew that they just weren't going to be able to get there in time in comparison to what RyaNoob's able to do. So they do just that. But that actually creates a great opportunity here for Quadrant. With a 3-kill lead, they could just continue to add on to this as they have Rebellion pretty much backs against the ropes.
Sica, look at the create space with those grenades, and looks like Shopify not going to react to right away. In fact, they do a full rotation over toward the yellow side, and now onto the P side of the map are Rebellion, and they're continuing to go all the way from utility into the flag and through P, and now we see a full rotation for Rebellion, almost being chased down by Quadrant. Finally, we're seeing a bit of engagement here on Aquarius, and now we're seeing Quadrant to win some of these individual battles.
Yeah, and I think, at this point now, Rebellion, where do they find those openings that Quadrant could potentially allow them back into this one? It's only going to be a 1-kill game. So even with that rotation was a smart call, because why would you just go and try and go toe-to-toe against them right in front of the utility? That just makes no sense. Get yourself into a better position. Put yourself on the P side of the map so that this way you create openings and opportunities for your squad.
And it's the type of strategy that we've seen employed by RyaNoob, no matter what team it's on, whether it's Rebellion or even back in Season 1 with E United. We've seen them be able to push the weak side and even do 3 or 4-man pushes to get out of those engagements. And we see another kill go towards Sica, taking down RyaNoob. It's a 11-10 lead in favor of Rebellion, and SLG is right back in the action.
Now he's got himself a pretty solid angle here, and I like that they're going for this. I like that they're going for these more spread out plays, and again, just waiting to see how they can add damage. RyaNoob is so good at that, just putting a few shots forward and then disengaging from the fight, making the call out, his teammates going for the sweep up. That is something that Quadrant are just going to need to be mindful of time and time again. Watch their flanks, watch out where RyaNoob is going to be, because if you're not careful, he'll drain half your shields before you even notice what happened to you.
Rayne over toward the bottom B side. RyaNoob doing a great job of shredding his shields, backing down, and not tunnel
staying alive
within that fight. Doing a great job of staying alive.
It's creating so many openings here as well, Tony. I mean, look at what's happening here, right? You get RyaNoob in a position to be able to just pepper them with shots, and then you essentially send hounds on them, like Mr. Burns. You just you release the hounds, and the hounds in this case, you got Mental Cykul and Rayne, who just have no problem jumping on those opportunities that are created for them, and it's kind of left Quadrant a bit reeling here at this point, because look at RyaNoob. He's on the other side of the map and then rotates back over to the Sizzle Stick. So my guy is just flowing constantly around and causing as much carnage as he possibly can.
Rebellion have been doing a great job of setting the pace here on Aquarius, and so far that's net them complete map control. Now we're seeing them back out towards the outskirts of the map. This is Quadrant's opportunity to get that card control, but RyaNoob coming out of nowhere with that height advantage. Him and Mental work a little 1-2. Lqgend chases down RyaNoob in order to get the kill, but I'm sure he's going to be dealt with soon. This is a fight for any kind of map control, and so far Rebellion continue to win it.
Yeah, this is playing right into Rebellion's hand here. course, I like what I'm seeing here from SLG, right? You see these two players engaging and trying to take this fight over toward the P side where your teammates are. So create that flank opportunity. Get around to the utility and just cause as much carnage as you possibly can so that you can give your team a fighting chance. And fighting chance they have is they just took the lead here by 1.
Big kill come out of SLG to clear out the car side. That's 3 down for Shopify Rebellion.
What a run.
Again, we see Quadrant coming right back into this game and ultimately taking the lead going into the mid-game. Rebellion stuck over towards the gold side. Last time we saw this, they rotated 4 players onto the P side just to break out of their spawns. Will they be able to do that again?
Well, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because you kind of have players positioned all across the board. And by the way, that comeback for Quadrant, that was an 8-kill, now 9-kill swing. Sica's on a killing spree here. So, like, just Quadrant right back into this one through sheer force of will as they have been able to isolate these fights and get these kills where they count. And now you're left wondering, well, you know, how did Rebellion allow this to happen and how do they dig themselves out of this hole?
It's crazy because it's Quadrant's teamwork that's been able to come out on top, but most of the assists are going towards SLG. He has 9 of the team's 14 assists right now, so just getting involved in every single fight, but also being unselfish and not having to worry about whether he gets the kills or not. He wants his teammates to shine as much as he does, and it's seemingly working for Quadrant, but now with a 1v2 tries to back out. Rayne not going to allow him out, and Lqgend now forced to back down, ultimately to stay alive and wait for his teammates to come off a spawn.
Well, and also, too, you heard the Desk talk about SLG and the many hats he wears, and you make a great point there, Tony, about how, you know, he's a very unselfish player. He's always been like that, and that is part of the reason why people like playing with SLG, because he's the type of guy that will always prioritize setting up his teammates over himself. And maybe that could be a detriment to some players, but I think, you know, in a game like Halo Infinite, where being able to, you know, tag and create as much problems as you possibly can for your opponent and not allowing them the comfortability to push up willy-nilly, that is such a valuable skill to have. And to see him already sitting at those 9 assists, absolutely massive. Taking a page, honestly, out of Ryan's book.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to do the same thing we play together. I'll just hold the ball and make me look better so I can get the kills. We can have that same dynamic.
Listen, man, I play on keyboard or mouse, okay? I've said this 3 times already. Let the boy cook. Let the boy cook in the server. That's all I'm saying. Nice shot, though, from RyaNoob. Actually takes out TchiK, and this is just an attempt now to just get back into this one here, but it does feel like, with the way that these fights are going, call-outs are being made, and they are prioritizing eliminating RyaNoob whenever they see him pop up behind, and that allows them to net a camo here, and look at the information that is being gained by SLG.
Big kill coming out of SLG with the camouflage, a couple of grenades to make sure that nobody's able to leak through, and he keeps alive with this camo. We said it before, he wants to be involved in every single fight, put a couple shots, stay alive, and allow his teammates to come in. But now stuck in a 1v1, and he's still comfortable doing that, taking down Cykul. A 41-31 lead here for Quadrant moving into the end game.
What a swing that this game was. We were seeing Rebellion basically set these traps just as they did an oddball for Quadrant, and then Quadrant were taking the bait each and every time. But then it just shifted around. You could see when that shift came about as well, when SLG opens up the map for his teammates. And then, of course, Sica is having a great game at this juncture. So this is the perfect situation for Quadrant to be in here, but they cannot let it slip away at these final moments. And even though it is going to be a tall task for them, 9 kills is the separator between these two teams, you cannot count out Rebellion because they will find a way.
And the last thing you want to see for Quadrant is ultimately them going 3 down now. Shopify Rebellion have the opportunity to surround Quadrant off the spawn and limit their movements. The moment you see a 2-man push coming toward the P side, Rebellion are there, but they deal with one. Can't quite find the second one. Rayne gets the backstrike. Finally going to take down the second. It's going to be Sica, so a double kill now coming out of Rayne as Rebellion looking to come right back in. Lqgend being isolated as well. Now it started to work, and we're seeing a little bit of momentum now shift in favor for Rebellion.
That camo pickup, I think, went over to Rebellion, and if it did, that could maybe be the difference maker, but you're still going to have to bring back 6 kills here. And, you know, they're doing a good job, Rebellion, of just clawing their way back into this one, and it is going to be RyaNoob who picks up the camo, but they're really wise to it and just prevent him from getting the freedom to move around with this. And just look at the attention that he's pulling in his direction here. Smart plays there by RyaNoob to try and disengage from the fight, but the problem was you're so weak at that point in time. You simply just cannot give up these trades. last kill is going to be available here to Quadrant. This could very well be it, Tony.
They're looking for the last one, and Sica tries to go in for the challenge. He thinks it's a 1v1. In fact, it's a 1v2, and Quadrant are able to steal that one away. And look at that. No emotion on their face whatsoever. They know they still got a few more
Job
to
ain't
go.
done.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd be celebrating. That's a big win right there. Able to come out, I think, what, 8, maybe a 9-point swing in favor of Quadrant, but it's all business on their face. They know you still got to put 2 more on the board before you advance forward.
Credit where credit is due. Of course, SLG, 12 assists that he was able to put together. And that's not counting all the other shots that he was laying forward to his opponents as well. So I think all that just taking a factor in. You saw layers to this Quadrant team. This is a squad that everyone's always like, French aggression, push this, fight here, do that. But you're really seeing how this squad, and why they're such a feared team, I think, in the HCS, is because, they do have these layers. They do have the ability to change up the gameplay and change up the tempo. And this is literally the best case scenario, I think, for Quadrant in that Slayer. Now, though, as we get ready for Game 3, and we're right back neck and neck here, again, it is truly anyone's game. I said you didn't want to let Rebellion get off to a crazy start here, Tony, and that is exactly what Quadrant prevented, and they're right back in the series.
I talked about this yesterday. Your best ability when it comes to esports is your availability, your adaptability. How you're able to adapt to any given situation. I've talked to SLG. He told me about the different ways that he and Quadrant play against a team like Optic and how it differs from FaZe, and now we were seeing how they're able to play against Rebellion and able to match no matter who their opponent are. I promise you, Quadrant, they do their homework. There's a reason why they're the #1 team in EU and one of the bigger threats to make it into the top 4.
Now we shift over to CTF Argyle, and you're going to have a very interesting game on your hands here, considering the way that Argyle's played, the way you want to set up. Do you try and just brute force your way into the flag area? Do you try and just create setups and get the pulls and just be methodical with it? A lot of questions here, obviously, that will be answered very, very soon. But as we get ready for this one, what a great series that this has been. 2 fantastic teams that are just fighting for survival in this tournament. It doesn't get any better than this, Tony.
No, it does not. And man, Argyle is going to be one of those weird ones when it comes to dealing with Rebellion or Quadrant, because to be honest with you, I don't know who has the advantage. I think, obviously, Quadrant are a very good Argyle capture the flag team, but I feel like with Rebellion's playstyle, once they get control, they're not going to let up. They're going to punish you, and whenever they pull flags, it is going to be efficient. So this is going to be a weird one. Honestly, I think it's a toss-up between both Quadrant and Rebellion, and it is such an important map in the series.
Let's see what risks are going to be taken here when you're in the thick of it like this. Really, it's just do or die, right? Elimination bracket game. Pressure's on here for both of these squads, but RyaNoob gets that first blood. And instead, on the other side, though, it is going to be a camo grab, which is quite positive here for Quadrant, as they're just going to have to scope around their base. But look at RyaNoob already in the back of the base, trying to just cause as much carnage as he possibly can.
TchiK able to get away with that camouflage. We talked about that utility control that Quadrant needed to work on in this series, and the first one goes to TchiK.
He's still alive back there.
He really is. It was one shot, had an enemy right behind him, but luckily he's able to dodge him, and now might be staring down the barrel of a couple of other Rebellion players here on the pistol side. Flag is being pulled, and he ends up turning away at the wrong time. Rayne finds the kill.
That little situation, really, that we saw RyaNoob do, allowed his team to get positioning right where they are right now. Just because he was creating so much noise inside of that base and staying alive, it drew all of the Rebellion players, gave them openings, and the Quadrant guys simply just could not understand where this push was going to be coming from, because RyaNoob was just running around in this base. But the thing is that they have to stop this flag, and they know that they have basically all the tools necessary to do so, but they need numbers, and Mental's gonna need help here right now, and he gets it from Cykul.
Mental doing a great job of watching the strong side of the push coming in and able to deal with one. Him and Cykul coming off the spawn, but they're still sending numbers after numbers. 3 make that 4 down for Rebellion. Quadrant are going to slap this one in and also be able to move right back into map control after that, because Rebellion are still coming off spawn.
Credit where credit is due there, obviously, to Quadrant, because they were having to deal with a lot in their base. And then they were, while that was going on, you got that flag pull that was brought out by Sica, and that pull was just lasting for a super long time. But incredibly, incredibly diligent job here by Quadrant, just to not let the moment kind of escape them a little bit, because that could have been very easy there, Tony.
Camouflage in the hands of TchiK once again. That's 2 in a row that Quadrant able to grab. Another flag being pulled and moved quickly over toward the pistol side. You see the spawners onto Snipe, and you see Quadrant perfectly watching the overextenders. Mental having no idea TchiK is coming. Easy kill for him. He's going to pull right out of that situation. SLG punching in yet another one. 2-0 lead for Quadrant.
These have been very clean runs, but they've also come off that one run in particular. Super helpful to have that camo player just basically perch in the middle of the map and get you so much information. Stop the player that was going to be flanking you from behind. Get info on where the players are going to be on the right side of the map. Like pretty much everything that you could possibly want to go right there for you. For Quadrant fans, definitely did, and they're sitting in a very, very solid position here at 2 flags. It becomes exponentially more challenging with the way that Argyle's laid out and how big this map is to be able to get back into this one. So we're going to need to see what Rebellion's made of here in the CTF.
TchiK and Quadrant just doing a phenomenal job of ultimately shutting down RyaNoob and Rayne. Well, we've seen over 3 minutes of gameplay so far and only 3 kills between both of these players combined. If Rebellion going to have any chance ultimately coming back in the game, which obviously there's enough time to do so, they're going to have to pick it up in the slays department. You cannot allow Quadrant just to run around the map 3 and 4 up the entire time.
And you know what, though? The advantage here, or at least the slight advantage, is that even though they have 2 flag caps, it's still 8 minutes on the clock, Tony, to your point. So Rayne and RyaNoob have plenty of opportunities to be able to dig themselves right back into this one. Oh, my word. Woo. SLG with the snap there onto Cykul. Definitely going to be feeling that one in the morning. But RyaNoob makes the pull happen, and look at the harassment from Rayne up on top of the elbow here, just not really allowing them to get comfortable, but they know that the players are going to be located on the elbow side, so you have to be mindful of this.
Flag's able to make it all the way through the snipe side here for Rebellion. RyaNoob is stopped short, but luckily has the reinforcements he's looking for, and now we have Rebellion on the board, only down by 1 cap. You know, we talk about how hard it is to capture flags on Argyle, but so far, 2-1 lead here for Quadrant. Normally, games will end 1-0.
But they gave up so much map control, and I just saw a snipe actually just snap there. But they gave up a lot of map control, and they gave up the camo here as a result of that, which means SLG gets to walk away with this flag with no problem whatsoever, and he will not be spotted for a while because he's not tossing the flag. Instead, he's holding it the entire time, and it's going to be a ginger stroll through Argyle for the 3rd cap for Quadrant. That was, again, just beautifully done by the Frenchman.
Just when you think things are starting to go in favor of Rebellion, they come out. And Quadrant slapping in. It's going to be 3-1 win. We ain't going to 5 flag caps anymore.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see what happens here. I think there may have been is it 5 or 3? You know,
we ain't going to 5 anymore. We going to 3.
Oh, so
going to 3.
Oh my God,
we going to 3, baby.
My brain is all over the place. I'm so sorry, people. I just came off of a flight from Tokyo. I'm old as hell. Please bear with me. But in any case,
stay with us, because after this event, we're going to swap it out the camo for the quantum translocator. You're going to see more changes on the map from event to event.
I know, right? I know. But yeah, so that is basically going to be a 3-1, and a ginger stroll gives Quadrant a critical flag cap there right at the end. We take a look at some of the highlights here. And I think really the name of the game here, Tony, without a doubt, was just camo control. Like the amount of times that they were able to get camo, Quadrant, and then benefit from that power item pickup, whether it was the walk across the map or whether it was the information that was being grabbed, really it just goes to show how vital these power items are, and just the amount of I guess, investment that Rebellion were making into their flag caps just opened up those opportunities for Quadrant.
I'm still lost at no scope from SLG.
Oh yeah, that thing's nasty.
I know you're getting older and whatnot. What the kids call that? They call that the mess around and find out. That's what they call that. Oh my gosh, that was beautiful. Now we're going to King of the Hill on streets here for this game number 4, and Quadrant have an opportunity to give Shopify Rebellion their lowest placing this year, knocking them out in elimination bracket round 1. That does not sound like something Rebellion want to go through.
Yeah, and also that, you know, that Argyle was clean, incredibly clean by Quadrant, and Rebellion will be kicking themselves for kind of just the way that had played out, one that you're definitely going to have to go back and watch the VODs for to figure out where the gaps in your play was. And because Quadrant did everything right, But I'm really looking to that guy right there, Mental, to be the one that could step up here at this moment and just really put on a show, just like as he was doing in games 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, every time we've seen him, whether win or lose, Mental stats have been out of control. He's been dropping. And in fact, he actually has the most kills so far in this tournament. I've not only heard that he's an amazing Halo player, but also hear one of the best Gears players to ever touch a controller as well. So hopefully Mental and Rebellion can bounce back. It's map number 4, potentially the final time we're going to see Rebellion here. Quadrant have an opportunity to end it on King of the Hill.
Backs against the wall for Rebellion, and Quadrant know that they have them right where they want them, but you have to close it out here and now. This has been a problem for Quadrant in the past, being able to close out these games and close out these series here, but you have that opening. You have them beaten, battered, and bruised. It's now time to take advantage as we go right into King of the Hill.
Rockets over toward the mid-map, and not for long, Rayne right off the rip grabs a hold of those rockets. I believe he actually tossed them up to his teammate onto the tire side. We're going to find out here soon because RyaNoob goes down and Mental has the rockets. So what a play by RyaNoob to get those rockets, get into the hands of your leading Slayer, and immediately start getting time on the first hill.
Yeah, incredibly intelligent play there. And those opening plays have been so vital in this game because you just established so much control early on. Now, of course, unfortunately for Mental, he was going to be having to play off of that angle while also taking pressure over from the steps too. So good on his teammates to basically just fill that gap as soon as he exited it, and primarily because he had those rockets. You want to be able to clean up those kills when they become presented to you, and you also have Rebellion's Rayne here scattered around the arcade area with the Stalker rifle. Is going to put in a lot of damage, but he needs to hit those shots.
Rayne doing a great job of staying alive here into Red Room. Trying to dance a little bit, getting sturdy if you will, but down to one shot he goes. Somehow able to take down Lqgend. Finally, Rayne is dealt with. SLG pushing up onto the driveway side, loses his teammate in TchiK, and now in a 1v3, and that Shroud goes a little haywire. Luckily, SLG does a great job of playing his life, gets behind one, somehow still alive, putting down damage with the Stalker and even getting the melee before going down. That's going to open things up for Quadrant.
One of the things that I absolutely adore about Halo and why it's one of my favorite games to just commentate and talk about is just because you were seeing so many micro plays happen there, from Rayne staying alive, the Stalker rifle being available, and then Quadrant being able to pick it up and get benefit from it as well. Like, everything kind of just fell from that one play, and this is where the game is going toward. No one has really been able to establish control on top of this arcade hill, and we have rockets coming up in a moment here, and I like the positioning that I'm seeing from Quadrant, but they cannot allow them to get those rockets again.
There was 3 players of Rebellion that were looking to catch an angle onto the arcade side, but it looks like Quadrant's still doing a great job of holding them out, and now we're starting to see the kills light up in favor of Rebellion, but that's until Lqgend gets away with the rockets. 2 already fired, but only 1 down, and that's 3 down for Quadrant.
Very well done by Rebellion there. They gave up the rockets, they identified that this was going to be a problem, and even though they ended up losing a body, he was in a real bad spot underneath the steps there. So they just put all their focus into eliminating that player as soon as they possibly could. So that was just the best possible response you can have given the circumstances they find themselves in. But that being said, Quadrant, they're just exchanging back and forth on this arcade hill, and so much time has passed here, Tony, which is also going to be quite problematic for Rebellion if they don't pick this one up, given the advantage that they have right now.
And Rebellion literally only a couple of seconds away from ultimately taking this hill, but they are losing bodies. In fact, all 4 members of Rebellion hit the black screen, and we're seeing Quadrant already manipulating those spawns, forcing them over toward the purple side. Lqgend is ready. RyaNoob is the first one to go down. Now we're seeing Lqgend ultimately retract right back in. Quadrant still that hill away. They still have the numbers advantage. Rebellion can't allow them to get subway control right off the rip, but it looks like that might be what happened.
Yeah, and also too, I mean, I think that with that kind of control, right, that we were seeing from Quadrant, they have all these players that are just going to be weakened. They can push the back of the site just as you're seeing right now. TchiK is just going to wait and bide his time here, but you have to feel for Rebellion on that one. They were mere seconds away from being able to capture that first point, which would have been massive for them after taking the battering on Argyle. To just come out of this one with a strong start would be huge for them, but instead, Quadrant gets the better of them, and they continue their good times.
Easy kills going in favor of Quadrant right as the rockets are coming up. Rebellion keep going down, and honestly going down at the most unfortunate times. Rockets officially up. Rebellion are just now coming off a spawn. That it was a huge kill on for Cykul onto Legend there. Might allow them to sneak away with the rockets. And did that man just run out of ammo? Somebody get my man some ammo.
Yeah, well, also too, right, like with Legend in that position, you're hoping that with the player that's going to be located in Tram, you're providing enough support fire there, but that was just really well scouted by Rebellion, puts them right back into the driver's seat here, but they do have some weakened players, and they're going to need these numbers to try and zone out the rest of the map and not allow Quadrant to be able to walk into this one, and that nade might actually just give them a little bit of a moment of reprise here so that they could just get right back to business and get right back onto that hill, but they have to get control.
Rebellion are stacking numbers. You have 3 players right on top of each other. A well-placed grenade by Quadrant could be devastating here, but it has not come. Cykul may have gone down to 1 shot, but does enough damage to allow Rebellion to get that advantage and ultimately sneak into the hill. The Sentinel Beam shreds the shields of Legend as once again Rebellion start to take over, taking the lead so far in hill number 2, looking to tie things up for Rebellion.
But we've been here before for Rebellion, Tony. They had the lead in the arcade hill, and then they gave it up right at the end there because of some great plays from Quadrant. So you cannot rest on your laurels here. Thing is, though, given how this push is going and how things have played out, there's no real reason for Quadrant to just throw another body at this. Maybe they can just try and like slow things down, prevent them from being able to get comfortable, but this should be a capture for Rebellion. Now let's see, though, how Quadrant are going to be set up for this next one in the middle.
Where you see all 4 members over toward the A side so far. Now you're starting to see 2 members start to push up over towards Bravo. A trade on the kill feed as SLG and Rayne both end up going down. RyaNoob with the Stalker, and looks like this is exactly what RyaNoob wants to be with it. He wants to have the C-side control, which is so important on the mid-hill.
Man, he's got that Stalker in the overlook position. Pretty much gonna just shred him with shots. Don't forget, though, Shroud screen with the rocket. But RyaNoob was wise to that one as well. Just look at the players just starting to jump into that one as the Shroud screen just goes away. 2 players down now on the benefit of Rebellion. That's courtesy, of course, of Mental, and they have possession of this hill. So, as we take stock of what is happening here, yeah, it actually has been a brilliant job by Rebellion, not overextending, playing to their advantages, and utilizing the sandbox here to the fullest of its potential. And on top of that, if there's a potential push to happen, I was going to say, if there's a potential push to happen, you have the Rockets to clear that out, but Rayne does go down.
Once again, RyaNoob still staying alive here toward the Charlie side. We're finally starting to see some resistance coming in for Quadrant. They are not going to allow Rebellion to just build a home onto Subway. They know how important it is. They finally take down RyaNoob. Sica somehow ends up with the Rockets, has to take down both with them. Both teams 2 down. Next play going to be so important, and somehow Quadrant is still gaining points.
Cykul picked up a big double kill. Perhaps they could use that to build off of something here, right? Because you have TchiK coming off of the respawn, and with these players going to be circling around the palm tree area of the map right in front of mid, I think that Rebellion here just know they just got to play their life a little bit more, and that is exactly what they're doing, not overextending and just letting Quadrant come to them, but they have to be ready for these traps.
And with this time starting to drain back, you only think this next couple of hills might be the deciding factor. In fact, it could be a situation where this next hill could be the final one, and Rebellion desperately needed. There's nobody in the hill. That means time is winding down, too quickly going down for Rebellion. SLG doing a great job of holding down the A side. You're seeing the ping start to come in, diverting the troops over. Rips out the Bulldog for the close range. 3 down, go Rebellion. Quadrant may just steal yet another hill away.
Man, TchiK opened up the arcade side of the map for this team with that push. They were so focused on what was going to be coming from Neon as well as ATM, and even though Quadrant were sending bodies to that, and that is going to be their second point there, which is massive for them, that really just came off of some excellent coordination from Quadrant to give them the advantage and to remove the advantages, rather, of Rebellion. So this is, again, just textbook of what we're seeing from Quadrant. Very brilliantly done.
40 seconds on the clock, and so are Shopify Rebellion. Quadrant can play it 2 ways. They can play the hill or they can play the time. And you're seeing SLG, just like you said, gingerly avoiding that hill. That means they're playing the shot clock. Rebellion, you have to make a play right here, right now. You have to get these kills. Otherwise, your tournament life is over.
Well, you got to get through TchiK, and you also have to get through Sica. And TchiK is making that real difficult as he ends up getting the trade there against Rayne. You're going to lose a big force at that moment there, but you only have 5 seconds remaining. RyaNoob's going to be inside of the hill. SLG's got the read on him there. Even though he's one shot, it's not going to be a problem. 3 seconds remaining here. SLG does go down, and we are going to see bodies for Rebellion on it. But here comes Legend around the side, and that is going to be it. Quadrant is moving on, and Rebellion is going home.
They're getting loud. They're getting loud. Congratulations all around. Quadrant have pulled off the upset, taking down Shopify Rebellion, giving them their lowest placing this year as Quadrant are moving forward.
That was a hard-fought game. Where the credit goes where credit's due to Quadrant. They played that one immaculately at the end there. It was a great setup that we were seeing. Everything that you could possibly want to go right for Rebellion happened there. They had mid control. They just got the point. They were set up on PD. And then TchiK around the corner just causes carnage. Then you have, I believe it was Sica as well. And at that point, you just pinned the entirety of Rebellion on the other side of the map. SLG with PD control, there was just nothing that they were going to be able to do. That was beautifully done by Quadrant.
That's a phenomenal breakdown, but I think you're missing one very important thing.
That?
And can you tell us about the bald buff? I've been hearing this going around. What is being bald due to you?
It gives you added powers, okay? Look at Onset. Look at the man's muscles. I wouldn't be shocked if Sica in the next event shows up here with 16-inch pythons like Hulk Hogan. Like this guy, you know, the way that he's playing here. And listen, you know, you look at some of the best players in the game right now across a variety of different esports. You got Durka, you got Sica, you got some great players that know how to win. And man, speaking of knowing how to win, well, one of my favorite players is actually standing by with the legend Blaze himself. It's SLG with Guy Blaze. Blaze, what you got, brother?